Ever feel like your team's stuck between this rigid, like, waterfall thing and just total chaos?
Oh, tell me about it.
We're diving into Disciplined Agile today,
Yes.
and let me tell you, it is not just another buzzword.
It's way more than that.
Think Agile, but like, choose your own adventure.
Exactly. It's taking all the best bits, agile, lean, even some of those traditional methods, and making them work for your team.
And our guide for this deep dive is Beyond Waterfall, the Retrospective Round.
Great series.
They just wrapped a whole thing on Disciplined Agile.
Yeah.
So we're getting all the juicy bits.
The best part is they really emphasize that this isn't about ditching the Agile manifesto, those core values we all love.
The values, so important.
Right. Individuals over processes, working software over tons of documentation.
Music to my ears. But sometimes putting those into practice, especially on some of these crazy projects, it feels like, I don't know.
Like solving a Rubik's Cube.
Blindfolded.
Blindfolded, exactly. And that's where Disciplined Agile comes in with, actual tools, frameworks you can use. In fact, Beyond Waterfall had this great example of a team that was just drowning in miscommunication. Nobody knew what the priorities were.
Of the worst.
The worst. So they decided to try out this Disciplined Agile approach, specifically the Agile lifecycle, and it really seemed to make a difference. Their productivity shot up.
Okay, so we're talking real results.
Real results.
But hold on, back up for a sec. We keep hearing about this Agile lifecycle. What are these different life cycles, and how do they fit into the whole Disciplined Agile framework?
Okay, so think of life cycles like different paths
Okay,
on your Agile journey.
I like where this is going.
Right. So you're not stuck trying to force a square peg into a round hole every time.
It's all about having options. Tell me more.
All right, so for example, you've got your Agile lifecycle, which is perfect for projects with a clear roadmap, frequent releases, like if you're constantly updating software.
Makes sense.
Then there's the lean lifecycle, all about delivering value quickly, no time to waste.
So that's for like streamlining a process.
Exactly.
Or if you're trying to like improve an existing product, maybe.
You got it. And now, what about those projects where the end goal is, shall we say?
A bit of a mystery.
A mystery. You're starting with a lot of unknowns. That's where the exploratory life cycle comes in.
Okay, so you're just going with the flow.
Exactly.
You're figuring it out as you go.
Exactly. A team developing a brand new product, right?
Mhm.
They use the exploratory life cycle, which let them adapt. As they learn more, they could pivot their strategy.
That is a game changer. Because instead of being stuck with this rigid plan,
That's totally outdated.
you've got a framework that embraces change.
Exactly. And it encourages that, continuous learning.
Okay, but how do you choose the right path for your team? Because I'm already feeling a little, I don't know,
Spoiled for choice.
a little bit, yeah.
Don't worry, Disciplined Agile doesn't just leave you hanging. It helps you choose the most effective life cycle based on what you need. What are your goals? They even have this decision tree.
Ooh, I love a good decision tree.
Right, to help teams figure out the best fit.
Talk about helpful. But one thing that keeps coming up, no matter which life cycle we're talking about, is this emphasis on lean thinking in Disciplined Agile. Now, before we get too far, we are not talking about cutting corners.
No.
We're not being cheap.
No way.
Lean thinking is about maximizing value. It's about getting rid of the waste.
Exactly. Those meetings where you leave and you're like, what was the point of that?
Oh, been there too many times.
Total waste. Lean helps you get rid of that stuff that's dragging you down.
Okay, so how does Disciplined Agile actually put those lean principles into practice? How do you actually make it work for a team?
It starts with really looking at how your team works. Beyond Waterfall, they talk about visualizing the value stream.
Visualizing.
Okay. They had this case study. Software development team. They were constantly hitting these roadblocks. So they decided to map out every single step in their process, from the initial idea all the way to getting it out the door.
They mapped out their entire value stream
Exactly.
so they could see where the problems were.
Exactly. And you know what? They found all these hidden bottlenecks that were slowing them down. It was eye-opening.
You can't fix what you can't see.
Exactly.
So by visualizing their workflow, they found ways to streamline their communication.
Exactly. They even automated some of their tasks.
And that really sped things up.
It did.
Now we're talking.
Mhm.
But what happens when that well-oiled, perfectly efficient team
Starts to grow.
starts to grow?
That, my friend, is where the Disciplined Agile Scrum Master comes in.
Go what now?
The DSM. Think of them as the conductor of your Agile orchestra,
Okay. So they keep everything running smoothly.
especially as the team grows.
All right. I am intrigued. Tell me more about this DASM superhero.
One of the things that makes a DASM different is that they really get the human side of things.
The emotional side.
They're not just focused on deadlines. They know that a happy team is a productive team.
So they're like the emotional intelligence gurus of Agile.
That's a great way to put it. Beyond Waterfall had this example, right? A team was having a really hard time resolving conflict.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh, yeah. So the DASM steps in and facilitates this workshop on, like, healthy communication, active listening, things like that.
Instead of just saying, stop fighting and get back to work.
Exactly. It's about giving the team the tools to solve these problems on their own.
Now that is empowerment.
And that is a key theme we see throughout all 8 of the core principles of Disciplined Agile.
Ping principles, okay.
Think of them as guiding principles. Help teams make smart decisions. Be adaptable when they need to be.
We can't just gloss over the 8 principles. That sounds
But
important.
they're essential.
Let's dig in. What are some of the most, unexpected ones?
Okay, well, this one might seem obvious at first. Delight customers.
Right, that's what we all want to do.
But it goes deeper than you think. It's not just about meeting expectations. It's about really understanding your customers.
Anticipating their needs.
Exactly. Delivering solutions that they didn't even know they needed.
That is above and beyond. I love it. But what about internal customers, like your own team? Do those principles apply there too?
Absolutely. It's about shifting the mindset from just checking boxes to really delivering value every step of the way.
I love that. Bringing that customer-centric approach to everything you do.
Exactly.
Okay, but I'm ready for another one. What else grabbed you about these principles?
One that really spoke to me, and it kind of ties back to that whole empowerment thing we were talking about. Be awesome.
Be awesome.
Sounds cheesy, right? But it's about fostering this environment where everyone feels valued, respected.
Like they can do their best work.
Exactly. A culture of trust where people feel safe to take risks, share their ideas.
And just be their most awesome selves.
Exactly. So, for example, think about how decisions are made on your team.
Right.
In a team that embraces this be awesome principle, everybody has a voice.
Okay.
Everybody feels comfortable sharing their ideas.
And that makes all the difference.
It really does. When you feel heard, you feel valued. That impacts morale.
And if your team's happy?
They're going to perform better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about feeling good. You got to deliver, right? What other principles help with that?
Well, there's one called pragmatic. Beyond Waterfall calls it apply the right amount of rigor. It's all about finding that balance, structure and flexibility. Not every problem needs some huge, complicated process to solve it.
So you're saying sometimes keep it simple.
Sometimes the simplest solution is the best. It's about being smart and knowing when to use your best judgment.
Okay, that I like. Disciplined Agile is about using common sense.
Exactly.
It's not about following a bunch of rules blindly.
Be adaptable.
This is refreshing.
Right.
But, okay, we could talk about these principles all day long.
I know, right? They're fascinating.
Each one's like a gold mine.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about a challenge a lot of organizations struggle with. Scaling Agile.
Beyond a single team.
Beyond a single team.
Ah, now it gets really interesting.
How does Disciplined Agile handle that?
Well, they've got strategies, frameworks.
Okay.
But here's the thing. There's no magic one-size-fits-all solution.
So you're telling me what works for one company?
Might not work for another.
Okay. So if we're trying to figure out how to scale Agile, what are some of the things that we need to think about?
What's the company culture like?
Okay.
Is it very hierarchical or are things more flat? How do they feel about change?
Because some organizations are definitely more open to change than others.
Exactly. Also, think about the type of work you do.
Right.
Software development, marketing, totally different ballgame.
So again, we're seeing that flexibility, that adaptability. It's like a theme.
It's essential. And start small.
Okay.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Baby steps.
Exactly. Pick a pilot project, learn from it.
Test it out. See what happens.
Exactly. And be ready to adapt as you go.
I love that. It's all about that test and learn approach.
It is.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground already, and I want to make sure we leave some breadcrumbs for our listeners to follow.
Yes.
Let's take a little break here, and then we will come back for part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork.
We've talked about what disciplined agile is.
All those big ideas.
Now let's get practical.
Let's get our hands dirty.
If you want to try out disciplined agile,
Where do you even start?
that is the question.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can
Like, where do you even begin?
Right.
But Disciplined Agile
Thankfully,
gives us a roadmap.
Beyond Waterfall says, start small.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Find a small project.
A pilot project.
Dip your toes in the water.
I like that.
Don't dive in head first.
Okay.
So don't try to overhaul your whole organization overnight. Start with one project.
But how do you pick the right one?
Good question.
Because it seems like some projects are better suited to this than others.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to just pick anything.
Definitely not.
So how do we choose?
Well, they suggest looking for a project with a few key characteristics.
Okay, I'm listening.
First of all, it should be relatively self-contained.
Meaning?
It's not super dependent on other teams or projects.
So it's kind of its own thing.
It can stand on its own.
Makes sense.
That way, you're not rocking the boat too much right away.
You can kind of experiment without disrupting everything else.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
They also recommend picking a team that's really motivated.
Okay.
People who are excited to try new things.
You're go-getters.
You got it.
You're innovators.
Because you need that buy-in from the team.
You've got to have those agile champions.
Absolutely.
But finding the right team...
It's only half the battle.
Right.
What about support?
Okay. You can't just throw them in the deep end.
Exactly.
You've got to give them the
The
tools.
knowledge they need to succeed.
Beyond Waterfall talks about this a lot.
Okay.
Hands-on training.
Not just lectures.
Right. No death by PowerPoint.
Please, no.
Simulations, workshops.
So they can actually experience it.
Exactly. Learning by doing.
I love that.
It's the best way.
Because sometimes just reading about it,
It's not enough.
you got to get your hands dirty.
You do?
But what about after the training?
Yeah.
What about ongoing support?
Because let's be real, even the best teams,
Need a book on the road.
they need a little help sometimes.
So what do we do?
Coaching and mentoring.
Okay.
Disciplined Agile really encourages this.
Having someone to guide you.
Someone with experience.
Maybe an internal mentor
Someone who's been there.
or an external coach.
Fresh perspective.
I like it.
Like a Sherpa guiding you up the mountain.
I love that.
Right.
Okay. But let's switch gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk documentation.
Ooh. Documentation.
Now, before you say anything. I know.
We said Disciplined Agile is about valuing working software over tons of documentation.
Right.
But that doesn't mean...
No, it doesn't mean no documentation.
We're not saying get rid of it completely.
Just enough.
Just enough.
That's the key.
But how much is just enough?
That's the million-dollar question.
What are our guidelines?
Be strategic.
Okay.
Focus on the documentation that actually adds value.
That makes sense.
For example,
Repeat me.
user stories,
Okay.
visual models, meeting notes.
Things that are actually useful.
Exactly. We want to avoid creating documentation just for the sake of it.
Oh, I've been there.
It's a black hole.
Documentation becomes this huge time suck.
And it's not helping anyone.
So be mindful.
Be purposeful.
Make sure your documentation has a reason for existing.
Exactly.
Okay, but speaking of things that are important,
Yes.
continuous improvement.
Music to my ears.
It's not enough to just adopt Disciplined Agile.
Right. It's not a one-time thing.
You can't just check it off your list to be done.
It's a journey.
It's about constantly reflecting
And evolving.
and getting better.
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
Retrospectives.
Okay.
Regular retrospectives.
Go right in.
Exactly.
Dedicated time for reflection.
That's right.
But it's not just about talking.
Right? No, it's not just a complaining session.
It's about taking action.
Exactly.
So what are some concrete things teens can do?
Well, Beyond Waterfall talks about this one technique
Yeah, okay.
called Kanban.
Kanban.
Okay. It's a visual tool,
Visual, I like it.
helps teams track their progress
Stay organized.
and find those bottlenecks.
Things that are slowing them down.
Exactly.
I've heard of Kanban boards.
Yes.
Those boards with the columns.
And the sticky notes.
And you move the tasks across as you're working on them.
It's a great way to visualize your workflow.
And see what's going on.
Exactly.
Everyone can understand it,
Exactly.
even if they're not super technical.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. Right. Or in this case, 1,000 lines of code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Kanban.
That's just one tool.
It is.
What else do we have?
Another good one.
Yep.
Daily stand-ups.
Now, I've heard of those before,
Yeah, they're pretty common in Agile.
but I have a feeling Disciplined Agile does it a little differently.
You're right.
So what's the Disciplined Agile spin on daily stand-ups?
Well, traditional stand-ups,
Okay.
they often focus on individual progress.
What did you do yesterday?
Exactly.
What are you working on today?
Right, but Disciplined Agile,
Okay.
it's more collaborative.
More team-oriented.
It's about What are we working on together?
Okay.
What support do we need?
How can we help each other?
Exactly.
I love that.
It's a team effort.
It's breaking down those silos.
Exactly.
And it's recognizing that we're all in this together.
We are.
But I think it's important to remember,
Yes.
disciplined agile.
It's not magic.
It's not
It's not going to solve all your problems overnight.
It's not a magic wand.
It's a mindset.
It is.
It's a set of principles
To guide you.
to help you be more agile,
More efficient.
more successful.
Exactly.
But it takes work.
It does.
It takes commitment.
And a willingness to
To
learn,
experiment.
to adapt.
To continuously improve.
Exactly.
So it's a journey,
It is.
not a destination.
Well said.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about a lot of practical tips
Tools and techniques.
for putting disciplined agile into action.
We have.
But our deep dive,
It's not over yet.
we've got one more part to go.
One more.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
All right, we're back.
Grand finale time.
We have unpacked disciplined agile.
We really have.
Talked about all the tools, all the techniques.
Everything.
But how do we know if it's actually working?
The million-dollar question.
It's time to talk metrics.
Because we don't just want to feel good, right? We want to see actual results.
Show me the numbers. But measuring success in agile,
It's not always straightforward.
it's not as simple as just counting lines of code or looking at how many deadlines you hit.
Right. It's about value.
It's about those happy customers.
And a team that's firing on all cylinders.
So how do we measure that?
Well, Beyond Waterfall had some interesting ideas.
I'm all ears.
Instead of just looking at velocity.
Which is how fast a team is completing tasks.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
They suggest focusing on things like lead time.
Lead time. Okay, break that down for me.
So imagine a customer requests a new feature.
Okay.
Lead time is how long it takes
Okay.
from that initial request to actually delivering it.
Oh, I see.
It's about speed, sure,
Right.
but it's more about responsiveness.
How quickly can you react to what your customers want?
Exactly.
So shorter lead time.
Means you're delivering value faster.
Makes sense. Okay, what else?
Another good one is flow efficiency.
Flow efficiency. Okay, that sounds interesting.
It's all about finding and eliminating waste.
Oh, there's that lean thinking again.
Exactly.
So it's about being efficient,
Exactly.
making sure you're not wasting time and resources.
It's about maximizing the time you spend actually adding value.
Okay, so a higher flow efficiency means
You're a well-oiled machine,
I like it.
a value-creating machine.
But metrics are only useful if we actually do something with them, right?
You got it.
It's not enough to just collect data,
It's about using that data to get better.
to make improvements.
Exactly.
So if you're looking at your lead time
Yes.
and it's longer than you want it to be,
Dig deeper.
figure out why.
What are the bottlenecks?
What's slowing you down?
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
It's all about continuous improvement.
Always learning, always evolving.
That's what disciplined agile is all about.
Speaking of putting it into action,
Yes.
tell me about some success stories.
I've got one for you.
Hit me.
Beyond Waterfall talks about this telecommunications company.
Okay.
company.
Okay.
They were struggling
In what way?
to adapt to all the changes in technology.
It's a fast-moving industry,
It is, and they were stuck in their old ways.
bogged down by bureaucracy.
Silos everywhere.
The development cycle was way too slow.
Painfully slow, I bet.
It was painful.
So what did they do?
They decided to give Disciplined Agile a try.
Okay.
Started with a pilot project,
Kept it contained.
small team,
So
and they really focused on empowering that team.
giving them the freedom to make decisions.
Exactly. Streamline their processes.
Get rid of all that unnecessary stuff.
Exactly. And they started thinking more about their customers.
Putting the customer first.
Exactly.
Okay, but did it work?
Oh, it worked.
Give me the details.
For lead time
Yes.
shrank dramatically.
Okay.
Customer satisfaction went way up.
Music to my ears.
And you know what?
Right.
Their employees were happier
They were more engaged.
and more empowered.
That is a win-win-win.
That's what we like to see.
Happy customers, happy employees, and a happy bottom line.
Exactly.
Disciplined agile for the win. It's not just about processes, though.
Right.
It's about changing the culture.
Creating an environment where agility can thrive.
Exactly.
Okay, as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yes.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Disciplined agile.
Yes.
It's not about following a bunch of rules.
Well, it's not a rule book
It's a mindset,
Okay.
a way of thinking.
that helps you navigate complexity
Adapt to change.
and deliver amazing results.
Exactly.
It's about finding what works for you,
Your context,
your team,
your organization.
and never stop learning.
Never stop improving.
Be disciplined in your pursuit of agility.
I love that.
That's it for our deep dive into Disciplined Agile.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned a lot.
We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.